What if I told you the key to getting well wasn't about fighting a battle at all, but about making a simple connection? Today, we're diving into a fascinating morning letter that totally flips our usual ideas about health on their head. And it all starts with this one really memorable line. A morning letter written barefoot. It's such a simple phrase, but it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? It immediately sets this tone. It feels grounded, natural, and maybe just a little bit radical. It's basically asking us to kick off our shoes, literally and figuratively, and look at wellness from a whole new perspective. And that one little phrase, it opens up this huge question at the heart of the letter. When you get sick, what's the goal? Is it to wage an all-out war on the disease itself? Or is it to figure out what caused the problem in the first place and, cure that? It's a question that really challenges a lot of what we take for granted.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at what the letter calls the path of fighting. Then we'll explore the alternative, the path of curing. We'll also get into some of the powerful personal stories the letter shares as evidence. And finally, we'll talk about what this choice could mean for you.
Let's start by really digging into this choice. We're not just talking about different methods or procedures here. Nope. The letter is laying out two completely different philosophies, two totally different ways of thinking about our relationship with our own bodies when we're not well. Okay, so first up is the path of fighting. I mean, we're all so used to this language, right? We talk about battling cancer, fighting off a virus. The letter calls this tubyang, and it frames our bodies as a battlefield. To really drive this point home, the letter uses a story many of us probably remember. It brings up the story of the actress Kelly Preston. Her struggle with breast cancer was described everywhere as a courageous fight. And it's a narrative we see over and over again, this idea of a brave warrior battling an enemy within. And when she passed, her husband, John Travolta's statement used those exact words. He said she'd lost her battle, but that she fought a courageous fight. And this is the thing, right? This language is so common we barely even notice it anymore. But it frames sickness as a war, with a winner and a loser. But here's where the letter drops a pretty shocking idea. What if that fight is actually part of the problem? It cites a Japanese doctor who claimed that for a huge number of cancer patients, as many as 80%, the cause of death isn't the cancer itself. It's the harshness of the cure, the aggressive fight. Now that is a staggering claim that really forces you to ask, are we fighting the right thing? So, if we're not supposed to be fighting a war, then what's the alternative? Well, the letter introduces the second path. It's called shibyang, and it basically means curing the cause of the disease. This is a whole different ballgame. It's not about attacking the symptoms, it's about going straight to the source. And when you put them side by side, the difference is just wow. The fighting path often attacks everything, healthy cells, sick cells, the whole lot, which leads to some really tough side effects. But the curing path, as the letter describes it, is all about finding that root cause and letting the body do what it does best, heal itself naturally. One is a battle against the body, the other works with it. So what is this root cause the letter is talking about? It points the finger at something called active oxygen, which you might know by another name, free radicals. Now, to put it super simply, think of it like this. These things are like tiny bits of rust forming inside your body. Over time, that rust can damage your cells, and according to the letter, that's what leads to illness. Okay, so if the problem is rust, what's the solution? This is where things get really interesting. The letter proposes something incredibly simple, barefoot walking. The idea presented is that when your bare feet touch the earth, you absorb its natural energy, and that energy acts like a kind of rust remover, neutralizing those harmful free radicals. It's a pretty wild claim, right? Now, you're probably thinking, okay, where are the double-blind studies on this? Well, the letter doesn't really go there. Instead, it presents its evidence through powerful personal stories, case studies of people who say this path completely changed their lives. Let's look at two of them. First, we have the story of a woman named Soon Rae. After a breast cancer diagnosis and surgery, she completely changed her life. She moved to a forest and made a commitment to walk barefoot every single day. And according to the letter, when she went for her next checkup, the results came back remarkably clean. Then there's the story of Tae-suk. She had a similar experience with breast cancer and also turned to daily barefoot walking. And for her, the results were incredible. 5 years down the line, the letter says her hospital gave her what they called a perfect cure declaration. Now, these are just individual stories, of course, not universal proof, but what they both highlight is a simple process. It's about returning to the earth and doing it consistently. The key seems to be walking every single day for at least 30 minutes. And of course, you got to be smart about it, right? Make sure where you're walking is safe, and it's always a good idea to be up to date on your tetanus shot. The idea is to make this a daily practice, and then just let your body's natural healing begin.
So this letter lays out two profoundly different paths, the conventional, courageous fight, and this alternative, the quiet cure. And it leaves us with a really powerful question to think about for ourselves.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If someone you loved was facing this choice, what would you tell them? Would you advise them to gear up for a difficult fight? Or would you suggest they explore this idea of a quiet, natural cure? There's no easy answer, but it's a question worth asking.
The letter wraps up with an open invitation. If this idea resonates with you, it suggests joining the Barefoot Walking National Movement headquarters on Naver Cafe. It's a community where you can share information and experiences. Ultimately, it's an invitation to just try it for yourself, to return to the earth, walk barefoot, and see what happens. And hey, if you found this explainer interesting, please do support us by subscribing, liking, and turning on those notifications. Thanks for joining me.